So now we will talk about Buddhism. We have already talked about Jainism, and if you want to see the videos of my Jainism, you can search it. You will find it on my channel. So I will just again, this was a common question for both the things, so I will again explain here that Buddhism, what was the issue behind the emergence of Buddhism. So earlier, like post Vedic society, there were four varnas where that four societies were made. There was Brahmans, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Brahmans were like priests and teachers. Kshatriyas were known as warriors, that is Chauhans and all. Vaishyas were engaged in agriculture, cattle rearing and trade, and Shudras were servants. Vaishyas were common people. So no evidence of the reaction of Vaishyas and Shudras were found, like what have learned, say, tackled of the wrong, whatever the wrong behavior was done against them. They were taken as a lower varna. Did they tackle it against? Did they tackle or revert back to those upper varnas or not? There is no record of it. But there is a record of Kshatriya who functioned as a ruler, reacted strongly against the ritualistic domination of the Brahmans, and this emerges as one of the main reasons behind the origin of new religions coming, such as Mahavira, that I have talked in my previous lecture, or you can find it on my channel. And the second is Gautam Buddha, and both were belong to the Kshatriya clan, and both disputed the authority of Brahmans, and you can know that how famous they are right now. So we can understand what kind of their power, or they made dispute against the Brahmans, that still we know about them. Okay, so we will see about now Buddhism. So how can we state that Gautam Buddha was from a noble family? Similarly, as a Jainism, so how can we state that Gautam Buddha was from a noble family? Gautam Buddha's nickname was Siddhartha. So how Gautam Buddha was from a noble family. Okay, so his nickname was Siddhartha. So nickname was Siddhartha, just for information. I think anyone knows it. Okay, according to the tradition, he was born in 567 BC, according to one tradition, and in the Shakya Kshatriya clan in Lumbini in Nepal near Kapilavastu. That born in 567 BC in Shakya Kshatriya clan in Lumbini, present in Nepal near Kapilavastu. So how can we say that it is a noble family? Kshatriya was the top two clans. He was the second class from the top. So we can say that he was from a noble, at least he was from a top class. Okay, and his father seems to have been elected ruler of the Kapilavastu and headed the Shakya Republican clan. That his father being the elected ruler of Kapilavastu and headed the Shakya Republican clan, and his mother was a princess from the Koshalan dynasty. Okay, and thus we can say that Mahavira or Gautam Gautam to belong to a noble family like Mahavira. Okay, so what were the few points of the earlier Gautam Buddha? So what was his earlier Gautam, how he started? So from early childhood he had been towards a meditative mind. He used to do meditation and all, like from early childhood he was bent towards meditation and all. Meditative mind, let us write. So, and he was married early, but married life did not entertain him, and he was moved by the misery suffered by the people in the world and sought a solution. There is a story, it was still like he never saw an old man in his life, and one day when he came outside his uh, uh, empire, he saw a he saw a old man, and he was full of misery. This is another story, that at 29, like Mahavira left home, he wandered from place to place for about 7 years. Like Mahavira was for 12 years, he was for 7 years, and then attained enlightenment at the age of 35 at the Bodh Gaya near People Tree. And when Mahavira attained the enlightenment, Mahavira attained the enlightenment at 42. And this is enlightenment, that here the word is used for Cavalier. Okay, so he attained the enlightenment at the age of 35 at the Bodh Gaya under a peepal tree. That is he that at 29, like Mahavira left home, he also wandered place to place for about 7 years and then attained enlightenment at the age of 35 at Bodh Gaya under People Tree. Thus he got the name Buddha or enlightened one. It is said that earlier it was said like none of the people live, like green leaf of that peepal tree falls on the ground, but it is what he is saying, it is just a saying, like whenever it fall down, someone used to pick it up and keep them with themselves. This is the exact reason, that's why you can't see green normally, that people live falling there in Bodh Gaya. Okay, so after getting enlightenment, he delivers his first sermon at Sarnath in Banaras. That after getting enlightenment, he delivered his first sermon at Sarnath in Banaras. Okay, and he undertook long journeys and carried his message far and wide. He had a very strong physique, and this enabled him to walk to 20 to 30 kilometers a day, and he kept wandering, preaching and meditating continually for the 40 years, resting only during the annual rainy season. Like in annual rainy season, he used to sit beside any tree or rest any other place. And his missionary activities did not discriminate between the rich and the poor, the high and the low, and a man and a woman. And he passed away at the age of 80 in 487 BC at a place called Kusinagar, coterminous with the village like Kasiya. Like the Kusinagar is the name of village where he died. It seems like from one tradition. So, what were the doctrines of Buddha? We have shared the doctrines of Jainism. Okay, you can go through my previous video where you can see doctrine of Jainism. Here, doctrine of Buddha. Doctrine of Buddha was right observation, right determination. I will write it down. So the Buddha emerged as a practical reformer who took note of the realities of the day. He did not involve himself in the fruitless controversies regarding the soul. Like he did not believe in what is Atma, is soul, what kind of work. He did not like these kind of controversies, like fruitless controversial topics. And Brahma raged in his time. These were raged by the Brahmins, but addressed himself to the worldly problem. He used to address as a worldly problem. He said that the world was full of sorrows and the people suffered on account of desires. And if desires are conquered, nirvana is attained. That is, man is free from the cycle of the birth and death. That Buddha said. He did not talk about soul and all, Atma and all. These were the fruitless controversies. He just speak about the real world controversial problems. That he said that world was full of sorrows and the people suffered on account desires. If you conquered your desire, if desires are conquered, nirvana, that is last step, is attained. Nirvana is attained. That is, man is free from the cycle of birth and death. Okay. So what were he recommended as the eightfolded path for elimination of human misery. He recommended eightfold path, that is Ashtangika Marg in Hindi. Ashtangika Marg for the elimination of human misery. It comprised right observation, right determination, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right awareness, right concern. So I don't think I have to explain these all. Okay. And the Buddha also laid down a code of conduct for his follower on the same line as those of the Jain teacher. Like he also made that code of conduct, that was the doctrine of Buddha, in the same, similar to the Jainism, like laid down code of conduct for his followers on the same lines as those of the Jain teachers. So the principles are: do not commit violence, do not covet the property of others, do not use intoxicants, do not tell a lie, do not indulge in sexual misconduct and adultery. Okay, so I don't think I have to explain this thing. So what were the features of Buddhism? So Buddhism does not recognize the existence of God and soul. He used to live in the real world. This Buddhism used to talk about real world issues, and it came as a revolutionary step in the history of India because it directly attacked the Varna system. People were accepted irrespective of the caste, creed and gender. and in comparison with the Brahmins, Buddhism was liberal and democratic. So the personality of Buddha and the method adopted by him to preach his religion helped the spread of Buddhism. He sought to fight evil by goodness and hatred by love, and refused to be provoked by slander and abuse. That he, like, let me write it down, that the personality of Buddha and the method adopted by him to preach his religion helped the spread of Buddhism. He sought to fight evil by goodness, not by evil to evil, and hatred by love, and refused to be provoked by slander and abuse. Okay, and he maintained his poise and calm under the difficult circumstances, and tackled his opponent with wit and presence of mind. Okay, with brain. He maintained the poise and calm under difficult circumstances, and tackled his opponent with wit and presence of mind. Okay, so note 200 years after the death of Buddha, Ashoka, the famous Maurya king, embraced Buddhism. This was an epoch-making event. Through these miseries, Ashoka spread Buddhism into Central Asia, West Asia and Sri Lanka, and thus transformed it into a world religion. Even today, Sri Lanka, Burma, Myanmar, Tibet and parts of China, Japan profess Buddhism. So, what were the causes of decline of Buddhism? So, Buddhism became virtually extinct by the end of 12th century. It had continued to exist in an altered form in Bengal and Bihar till the 11th century. But after that, Buddhism almost completely vanished from India. That Buddhism became virtually extinct by the 12th century. Virtually from 12th century it was not there, but in altered form, in the broken form, it was appeared in Bengal and Bihar. But it seems, but after it vanished, it seems that Buddhism became a victim to the evils of Brahmins against which it had initially fought. Like Brahmins became enemy of that Buddhism, and the Buddhist monks were cut off from the mainstream of the people life. They gave up Pali, the language of the people, and took to Sanskrit, the language of intellectuals. From the 1st century onward, they practiced idol worship, and Buddhism became corrupt after that. Like when the Brahmins attacked it, so Buddhism started to be corrupt. Like actual Buddhist practice get disrupted, and the monks started collecting revenue from as many as 200 villages to make their life easy. This new form of Buddhism was known as the enormous wealth of monasteries. So the new form of Buddhism was known as that Vajrayana. And the enormous wealth of monasteries with increasing sexual activity led to the further degeneration. And Buddhists began looking up women as object of lust. So just imagine how this Buddhism got disrupted. Like after 12th century, after 12th century, it was present in an disrupted manner, present in some part of Bihar and Bengal. Okay, and later they attacked by Brahmanas and were crushed by them, and later Buddhism emerged as corrupt practices, where monks started collecting revenue from as many as 200 villages to make their own life easy, to make their life easy. Like there is two term, to making their life of the villagers of easy by collecting the revenue, but they were making their own life easy. Okay, so this new form of Buddhism was known as Vajrayana. And the enormous wealth of monasteries with increasing sexual activity led to the further degradation of Buddhism, began looking upon women as an object of lust. See how much this degraded. The Brahman ruler Pashyamitra Shunga is said to have persecuted the Buddhists. The Huna king Mihirkul, who was the worshipper of Shiva, killed hundreds of Buddhists. And the Shashank of the Gaudev felled the Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha had attained the enlightenment. That I will write that what are some twisted words are there. So the Huna king the Huna king Mihirkula, who was worshipper of Shiva. Okay, he killed hundreds of Buddhists. Okay, and the Shaivat Shashank of God felled the Bodhi tree. He tried to fell at Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya, where Buddha attained the enlightenment. Okay. So Huan Sang states that 1600 stupa, the Chinese scholar, that Huan Sang states that 1600 stupas and monasteries were destroyed. That Huan Sang states that 1600 stupas, monasteries were destroyed, and thousands of monks and lay followers were killed. Okay, and as per the collection, richest monasteries came to be coveted by the Turkish invaders and becoming a special target for the invaders' greed. And the Turkish killed a large number of Buddhist monks in Bihar, although some of the monks managed to escape to Nepal and Tibet. Thus, by the 12th century, Buddhism had virtually disappeared from the land of its birth. That, as per the collection, the richest monasteries came to be coveted by the Turkish invaders, becoming a special targets of the invaders' greed. Okay, the Turks killed a large number of Buddhist monks in Bihar, although some of the monks managed to escape to Nepal and Tibet, that is China. Right now this is disputed area, Tibet. Thus by the 12th century, Buddhists had virtually disappeared from the land of its birth. And what were the methods recommended by the Buddha? Buddhism advised people not to accumulate wealth. measures recommended by Buddha. That Buddhism advised people not to accumulate wealth. Why do you need extra wealth? Just be equal, because if an extra wealth is there, corruption will lead, private properties will come, and according to him, poverty breeds hatred and cruelty and violence. Because like if you accumulate wealth, accumulation of wealth will create inequality in society. This will create rich and poor society. That this will be the mixture of rich and poor society, and poverty breeds hatred, cruelty and violence. That because of this poverty, people will again revolt. That we will see if you study sociology. I have also uploaded video for that, where I have talked about proliferate and all, where because of that worker used to revolt against the owner. Okay, so this is reason because this started French Revolution and all. So that this was coming in that medieval or modern history. But see, Buddha has said very earlier that he already had this mapping of poverty and all, that how poverty will come. No extra accumulation of wealth should be there. So to eradicate these evils, the Buddha taught that farmers should be provided with the grain and other facilities, traders with wealth, and the unemployed with the employment. That if there is someone unemployed, provide employment to them. And these measures were recommended to eradicate the poverty in the world. So Buddhism also taught that if the poor gave alms to the monks, they would be born in wealthy in the next world. See, here again there is one twist, that Buddhism also taught, like if there is a poor, and if you are helping to the monks, in the next world you will be born as a wealthy. So here this is a criticism point. Okay, so most of the code of conduct given by the Buddha were relaxed by the monks after the death of Buddha, and according to Buddhism, the Varna was based on the action and attributes, but for Brahmins it was based on birth. Buddhism made an important impact on society by keeping its door open to women and Shudras. It was completely open for women and the Shudras. Buddhism did not deprecate manual labor. That in a 2nd century sculpture from Bodh Gaya, the Buddha is depicted plowing with oxen. That Buddha is already doing the manual labor. So he was not against the manual labor. And Brahmanical insistence of the sacredness of cow and the non-violence was apparently derived from the Buddhist teaching. Buddhism taught the people not to take things for granted, but to argue and judge them on the merits. That this is a good sentence, that Buddhism taught the people not to take things for granted, but to argue and judge them on merits. In the first 3 centuries of Christian era, by blending Pali and Sanskrit, the Buddhists created a new language which is called as hybrid Sanskrit. In the 1st and the 3rd centuries of Christian era, by blending that Pali and Sanskrit, that he just merged those things. That in the first 3 centuries of the Christian era, by blending Pali and Sanskrit, the Buddhists created a new language which is called hybrid Sanskrit. Okay, this is all from the Buddhism and Jainism. In the another video lecture I have uploaded it. That's it. Thank you. If there is any doubt, you can comment, or will provide in the description for any doubts and all. If you provide a document, just ping us. Description, in the description it will be given.